everyone, welcome back. This is Spirituality Sessions episode 4. We are talking today about tarot cards. And as per, I obviously have a wee hot beverage to keep me company. So apologies if I get more hyperactive as this video progresses. It's gonna hit me at some point. Apologies for my hair too, it's doing something wild today. Let's get into it. Tarot cards are something that I do on a fairly regular basis, like monthly, weekly, also like on the full moons and stuff, new moon as well. So if you saw my second episode of Spirituality Sessions, my moon episode, you'll have seen that I did a little sneak peek of some tarot cards there, but I wanted to give it its own episode to talk all about tarot cards. Okay, why/how did I get into tarot and what is it? Tarot, first and foremost, is cartomancy. So basically that's divination or future telling via the reading of cards. That's its like technical description, but it's basically just a way to connect to your higher self by reading some cards and figuring out what the world means and stuff. So I've been kind of curious about tarot for a while, and this was maybe like a year or so ago, probably 2 years ago actually, and I went to a tiny shop called Treadwell's in Euston in London. It's a lovely little independent bookshop on all things sort of spiritual and supernatural. I think it's got an apothecary as well. So yeah, it sells some like candles and oils and some ingredients for spells and things like that if you're well into witchy stuff. I'll do another video on that, it's coming. So yeah, I went there and straight away walked through the door, looked to my left, and there was like a whole bookshelf all about tarot, and I was like, well, okay, if this is not a sign, I don't know what it is. So I bought a deck for like, I think it was 15-20 quid or something like that, and it was like a beginner's sort of set, so it had a little book with descriptions and stuff. I'll show it to you later, but I'll get into that a little bit further down the line when I talk about the difference of like with the different types of decks. Okay, so the history. The tarot itself is a fairly new practice. The sort of earliest recollection we have, or records or anything that we have of tarot, are from the 1750s, I think, so quite recent in terms of like ancient spiritual stuff. But the first deck of cards that was recorded to be sort of made specifically for occult reasons, so magical reasons, was in 1789 by Jean-Baptiste Alliette, I think, a French dude. It came from and was inspired by old style French playing cards with clubs and coins. If you've ever played with French playing cards, that's what their sets are, and they're done in illustration form rather than as symbols like spades and diamonds.
Okay, so I'm going to stop myself here just because I realised that I didn't really go into that much detail about the history, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit more. So the French guy Alliette, he's also known as Attila, so that is the reverse of his name, and he was a merchant in France in the 1700s, late 1700s, and he supposedly learned how to read cards from an Italian. I'm doing a voiceover, so you can't see that I'm doing air quotes, but I'm doing air quotes. There was a book released by a French-Swiss Protestant clergyman and occultist called Antoine Court, who named himself Coeur de Gébelin, and he basically published this book saying that tarot had an Egyptian lineage, and Attila replied with another book, and basically it was born from there. This was then followed by more people writing more books, and then eventually it started to gain popularity. So it was brought to life in France and then used by Romany people or Romany gypsies when telling fortunes, and then also as kind of part of Carl Jung, who is a Swiss sort of psychologist, his like psychological apparatus, tapping into absolute knowledge of the unconscious and all of that type of stuff. So it really then took different routes from there.
So the deck itself does have similarities to a classic playing cards deck. It's split into, well, there's 78 cards in a tarot set normally. They're split into major arcana cards and minor arcana cards, and the minor arcana cards, they are 56, 4 sets, all split into 14, so same as a standard playing card set, if you will. And those 4 suits are Wands, Cups, Swords and Pentacles. But there's, 22 Arcana cards, I believe, major Arcana cards. So I'll try and explain what that means. The major Arcana cards have numbers from 1 to 22, but they don't have a suit, as it were. The major Arcana cards are said to have a stronger, sort of deeper energy. So when you do readings for like the future, the things that you may ask or are interested in that come out as Arcana cards tend to be the ones that will most likely stick around for the longest, or it's less likely to be able to be manipulated by your actions. So with tarot, it's not fortune telling in a classic sense, in that basically you tell the future, you can't change your fate, etc, etc. You kind of can. There's a little bit of leeway for fortune telling with tarot cards, because it's all about what is both present and future at the same time. It's a little bit linked with like manifestation and intentions and that sort of subconscious. So say you pull a tarot card for a question that you may have about your future, and it's a negative card, then that can sort of influence the way that you behave. So if you had maybe behaved in a positive, normal way towards that thing that was in the prediction, then maybe it wouldn't have gone badly, or I don't know. It's always up for a little bit up for debate, but I like it. I think for me it kind of works as a curiosity thing. But anyway, back to talking about decks. Different decks have slightly different interpretations and meanings because of their I don't know, maybe they're like inspiration. So there's a couple of different types. There is Rider-Waite, which is the one that I have, and there's the Book of Thoth, which has Egyptian influence, so the interpretations are pretty different to that of the Rider-Waite cards. And then I think there is one more major one, but I can't remember the name, so I'll have to insert it after looking it up. But there's another one, I'll put it here. So these are my cards, the ones that I got from the wee little witchy shop in London. I really like these ones. I think these ones are like the best selling ones, so they are pretty traditional, and most people when they think of tarot cards will picture this sort of card. But the pack comes with a little book so you can read all about the cards, and they are basically sort of like this. I don't know how well you can see from there, but I'll do a little close up for you. This particular deck was created in 1909, so that little booklet in it is written in sort of like ye olde Victorian-y English, so it's a little bit hard to interpret when you're reading them. I think they're pretty easy to read. They're nice illustrations. I like the cards. As you can see, they're pretty clear, they're nice and colourful, and I like that sort of old style that they have as well. It's kind of perfect to get a tattoo. I'm getting sidetracked. Readings! There are a couple of traditional ways to read the cards. One of the most classic ways is a Celtic cross. I'll try and insert an illustration or something of a Celtic cross so you know what I'm talking about. I don't read my cards in this way purely because I'm sort of go by instinct rather than by pattern. There are no real rules when it comes to reading tarot cards for yourself. You can do like tarot card and tarot qualifications, so you can become a qualified tarot reader. I've come across a really great blog post that talks about how to read sort of the basics of reading, and reading like simple things for you and or a friend or something. I mean, every tarot I think starts out in the same way, I think. Not 100% sure. You might need to fact check this.
Okay, so first step is to cleanse the cards. I'm using Palo Santo here, but you can also use sage. So you get it nice and smoky, smoke up those cards, make sure the energy is nice and clear, and then I shuffle the cards, so smush them against the floor, and then bring the pack back together to sort of create a little stack kind of situation, so they are back in a normal deck kind of shape, and then do some shuffling. I didn't manage to get the clip here, but you see, bad shuffling skills. Yeah, okay, you shuffle the cards. The next step is to cut the cards. You can do it as many or as few times as you want, but I do 3 because I like the number 3.
3 is a magic number. So 3 is how many I do in terms of cutting of deck, and then I draw the cards. I mean, hopefully I'm doing some sort of voiceover situation right now, otherwise I'm going to look very silly. Quick interjection. There are two main types of reading that you can do with tarot cards. You can do an open reading, which is like a general life reading, or you can do a question reading. So when you have a specific question, something that you're meditating on and you're looking for an answer or guidance for. I tend to do general, but I'm happy doing question. I love reading tarot cards. So the one I'm talking about here is a general reading, but wait a second for the end. I got a surprise for you.
Okay, so here's me drawing my cards. In no particular order, they were me, work, relationships, and my home life. A general full moon reading, and then I used the little book to read about the cards.
When I'm shuffling the cards, I have a general sort of idea, or I try to think about the thing that I'm trying to draw the cards for. So if it's an open general reading, for like a month, for example, I will try and picture the month's name in my head and think about the weather and what I'll be up to in the month, but I do try to keep like quite a neutral mind. We'll go with this drawing for a month example because it's really nice, clear example, description, demonstration of how I read my card. When I'm taking out a card, drawing or pulling a card as it's known, I think of a specific thing in my life. So normally when I'm reading for a month, I'll do a general one for me, one for my house, my home life, one for my work life, one for my relationships life, so relationships with friends, with more than friends. And then if I want to do specific people, I draw them after I've drawn those 4. I don't draw them all in that order all the time, so I go on instinct. Normally the first one is me, but if I'm about to pick up a card and I get this sort of like gut instinct feeling like this is for work, then I'll think work. Like I'll sort of say the word in my head as I'm pulling it. I don't know, it's kind of like an instinct thing. Maybe it's the universe working through me. Supposedly that's how these things work, so yeah, I don't know. The important thing to remember is to sort of stay pretty calm, so I have a little meditate before I do my tarot readings, especially if I'm doing a question kind of reading or reading for someone else. I don't tend to do question readings that often for myself because I like to sort of not know the answers to questions sometimes. Knowing things sometimes scares me a little, but I quite like doing question readings for other people because, I don't know, I can somehow tap into that. It's just easier for me to read for other people because sometimes my mind wanders when I'm thinking of the question and it doesn't work out too well, and then I end up sort of thinking of a potential answer, and then yeah, that messes with the whole system. But I found a really good website if you wanted to know about the sort of like inner workings of tarot and how it works and all that jazz. Then, and it's also like a scientific website, so I mean, science. It's actually really, really good, and it gave me a lot of insight into preparing for this video. I'll leave it in the description for you. So, speaking of taroting for other people, guess what I'm about to do? That's right, you guessed it, I'm about to start doing tarot readings for people. Cha-ching! I've done quite a few tarot readings for friends and stuff now, and family as well, and I think I'm pretty okay at it now. I thought it would be a nice idea for me to sort of have this as a service if you wanted to experience tarot, maybe because you're curious about getting your own deck or starting to look more into the witchy, developmental side of like spirituality. Yeah, so the way that I want it to work is I want to do free single card readings on my Instagram, so if you head over there, it's @yogi.z. I'll have a box in my story when this goes up. Also, of course, you can DM me, and I'm sure that I will still be providing the service whenever you would like to receive it. So that'll be like just a general who you are, what you represent kind of card. And then if you've got specific requests for like a question reading or like a general monthly reading or general yearly reading, then that will be on like a guided donation basis. So chat to me individually about what you would want and then we can work something out. This is so exciting because it's something I really like doing, and I've like recently learned to channel and love properly. So if you're interested, let me know. Of course I do this in a sort of unorthodox, unofficial kind of way. So if anyone watching this is a certified tarot reader or grandmaster even, or I don't know, does tarot or oracle readings on a regular basis, let me know in the comments because I want to connect with you. It would be so nice, and share what you do in terms of your tarot reading. If you want to give advice to people, be my guest. Let's get a conversation going about tarot because I think it's really cool. I love the idea of it. And yeah, there are some sciencey sort of aspects to it, but there's also some like, is it real type situations. So I don't know, we've got a lot to explore with this topic. If you think I missed anything important out or got anything really wrong, then please let me know, and I can rectify it, because this is a learning process. This whole series is basically me going on a bit of a brain wander, if you will, through the cosmos, trying to work out what spirituality is, whether I am a spiritual person, and trying to bring awareness to alternative forms of spirituality. I don't think I've got anything else to say other than get in touch with me if you'd like to have your tarot cards read. We can do a little meditation together, and we'll have a little Zoom call, or not a Zoom call if you don't want to do Zoom. That's cool. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe because it really does actually help me out, and it's nice to see all of you. Again, comment if you have like tips, tricks on whatever you do for tarot. I love learning about what other people do and what works for them, so that would be really nice to know. I guess, adios, ciao, arrivederci. See you next time.